Hi everyone, and welcome to this short video demonstration of the setup process for the EG200 eTactica's gateway. So what we're looking at here is a fresh setup. So this is basically a gateway on factory settings, which has been set up here in our offices with 5 devices on the Modbus attached. So we're just going to go through the steps. So this is what an installer on site might do. So we're going to set a password. It's the first thing we do. Let's just choose anything. Next, we configure the network. Now you do get choices here in terms of Ethernet, of DHCP, or a dynamically associated IP address, or a static IP address. There's also the option of Wi-Fi down here in advanced networking. For the purposes of today's demonstration, we're just going to stick with the DHCP. So we're going to do apply and continue. Okay, so what we're dropped into here is the diagnostics page, which basically shows that there are 5 devices on the bus, and they're all working in the sense that the gateway can communicate with them. So there's a green check mark to indicate that. On the second line, there's a green check mark also indicating that the gateway is able to communicate with eTactica's web-based system. Now, of course, if we were sending the data to some other systems, we could also have this be something else, and the check basically being the same, but for a different destination. And the third one is the time synchronization. So, okay, so we're already on a roll here, measuring and sending data. Okay, so let's go to the initial configuration. This is where we start to specify the properties of the installation itself. So we've already set the password, we've already configured the networking. So let's take a look at the next item in the list, which is what are the devices that are attached. So we already saw on the diagnostics page that there are 5 devices attached, and here we see them. So these were automatically detected. These are devices from eTactica, and so we know how to talk to them automatically, and so they are auto detected. It could also be a third-party Modbus device auto-detected if we have already written a plugin for it. Then it might appear in this list. If it doesn't, then we can simply click Add Device, specify the address, and add it manually. All right, we don't have to do any of that now. So let's go back to initial configuration, and let's configure the cabinet model. All right. So what is the cabinet model? That is something that specifies the properties of the devices. So which cabinet are they in? What are the names of the branches being measured? How large are those branches? This is something that becomes important. Basically what we're doing here is adding metadata to the measurements themselves, and that becomes important on the receiving end, on the destination, where you want to create some useful information out of the data. Okay, so we're going to step through the devices. We already know that there are 5 devices here, and they appear here at the top. And you notice that there's on the perimeter, there's a little blinking light here. And in the physical installation itself, the light on the LED light on the corresponding device will also be blinking. And this is so the installer knows which device he is looking at that time. And then he could read off the labels on the breakers and so on. So we'll see when we click next here that this flashing is going to go over to the next device. Okay, so what cabinet is this, or panel, is this device sitting in? Well, we haven't created any cabinets yet, so we're just going to do that. This is in the ETactica office. So let's just call that cabinet ETO. All right, so what do we have here next? We have the phase arrangement. This is a power bar. It has 12 channels, and the phase arrangement is just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you see this is going to be filled in here. It could also be something else, you know, depending on what the properties of the installation are, and the phase arrangement could also start with a different number. So it could be 2, 3, 1, and so on. But for the purposes of right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, and so there are going to be labels on the branches, and let's say for the purposes of today that the branches are labeled like this. So they're all called TF underscore and then the number. and this is going to be applied here. So we see if we apply this, that the branches are automatically named then TF1 through 12. Okay, and then the breaker sizes, by default, they're specified here as 16 amp. Let's say they were 32 amp or even 63 amp. 3, apply, and we see that all the branches are now 63 amp. Each one of these can also be manually changed. Let's just put it back to 16. Apply. All right, we're going to do next. Then we jump to the next device. It's in the same cabinet, and now we're just going to do it quickly. This is actually an EM. It has the typical phase assignment here, 1, 2, 3. The breaker size though is 80 amps. So we're going to do apply. Okay, next. All right, this is another bar, and it has the same phase assignment, so we don't have to do any heavy lifting here. We won't bother changing the labels. Okay, next is the next bar, same thing, next. Okay, one more bar to the same phase assignment, and now this is the last one, so we're just going to do save and finish. Okay, so now if we actually go to the channel monitor, what we're going to be able to see, so this is basically a space on the gateway that illustrates all of the devices that are connected to it, along with the measurements that are being taken at that moment. So here we see the EM, for example. We see the voltage measurements, we see the current measurements and the power factors and so on. And for the bars, we have the same information. Okay, now let's continue to the configuration. And we're going to go to confirm current transformer size. So basically to the EM and also to the EP, you can attach different size transformers. So on these EBs, on these power bars, we just have the 63 amp standard CT, but you could also have 80, 200 and 500. So this is actually correct. Now the same for the EM, it's actually 80 amp in this case, so it's confirmed, or we can just do approve all. Okay. All right, so now we have actually fully specified the properties of our setup. The data is being sent with the associated metadata to the cloud, in this case eTactica's cloud. And here we have the fully specified solution. I would point out here that we're also getting a temperature measurement from inside the cabinet from each device. Here you see the names that we applied before and so on. Maybe one more item here in terms of sending data to different destinations. So let's go to, on the bottom here, we go to administration. And here we see some more in-depth stuff. But just in terms of destination, here we have output open energy, output activity stream, output eTactica, and so on. And if we just use output open energy here as an example, here we have collected for this particular software supplier, we've collected all of the settings that are particular to them. So in this case, we're sending data to Microsoft Azure. So there are some SAS tokens, and you put the token in here. And when you save and apply, the data is automatically going to the right place. This is basically a packaged version of the Mosquitto settings page, where you can manually also specify all of the parameters that would be associated with the typical installation. Okay, and at any time we can go back to the eTactica front page and we see that we're doing okay. Yes, I think that's all for this short video. Thank you very much for your attention, and bye-bye.